It's a truth universally acknowledged that among all the shonen protagonists we have encountered, Son Goku is one of the most powerful characters to ever exist. Albeit a person whose brawn supersedes his brains, Goku's unparalleled powers and abilities stem from the very basis of his being, his body. Goku's anatomy as a Saiyan brought up on Earth is characterized by a rippling, bulky, muscular body, with capabilities that defy the laws of physics as well as nature itself. His body has, in fact, been a source of much curiosity and amazement for fans across the globe. Considered the Japanese counterpart of the famous DC character Superman, Goku is bestowed with a set of supreme physical attributes that only seem to exceed all limits with each new episode. So, what's the mystery behind the world's most powerful martial artist? Or, to be more precise, what makes Goku's body the archetype of perfection in terms of physical prowess? In this video, we will be exploring Goku's anatomical structure, with emphasis on his strengths and weaknesses as seen over the course of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. However, we will only be focusing on the events that have taken place inside the canon, so no GT and definitely no superheroes. With that being said, let's begin. A Saiyan baby born with a power level of 2 becomes Earth's mightiest martial artist. Goku's powers from birth until Vegeta's arrival. Goku's emergence as a gifted martial artist is a brilliant way to answer the question of whether mortal beings can ever become gods themselves. Having been born with a mere power level of 2, Goku has to climb a steep slope upwards and gradually master all the Super Saiyan forms over the course of the franchise. But first, let's look at how Goku's powers have evolved since his birth and their culmination until the point Vegeta arrives on Earth. The Dragon Ball series dedicates over 150 episodes to trace Goku's transformation from being a toddler moving boulders to unlocking his dormant Saiyan abilities, specifically the Great Ape. Since his infancy, Goku has exhibited superhuman strength and agility. Though he is not really the best person to rely on as far as his intellect is concerned, the Monkey King's endurance and super speed are far from normal. In fact, in episode 16 of the Tournament Saga in Dragon Ball, little Goku beats Krillin by completing the 100-meter dash in just 8 seconds. Another specialty of Goku's is his judicious use of skills. Having undergone intensive combat training under the watchful eye of Master Roshi, Goku learns to keep some cards to himself, especially when it comes to one-on-one fights. In the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, Goku aced the preliminary rounds by simply using his strength and reflexes. However, he ultimately resorted to the Great Ape transformation in his battle against the veteran competitor Jackie Chun, which was actually Master Roshi in disguise. Although the match ended in the favor of his sensei, Goku's transformation was the inception of the idea that he was, in fact, not a human being. Since then, Goku began developing several other fighting techniques while also adapting to his real identity on Earth. Under the rigorous training of Mr. Popo, Goku eventually masters the Ki, the life force within all living creatures using which an individual can deal fatal blows and techniques to his opponents. Goku's mastery of Ki is best depicted in the 23rd Martial Arts Tournament of the Piccolo Jr. saga, where Goku takes down his opponents in each match by harnessing his ki to make use of his fighting techniques seamlessly. And in the final match, with the defeat of Piccolo Jr., that is, the reincarnation of King Piccolo, one of the major antagonists of the series, Goku is declared the strongest entity in the world. While his combat skills have improved exponentially over time, what is most astounding is the fact that Goku's transformation into the Great Ape in the Dragon Ball series is still viewed as one of the biggest developments in the entire franchise. Before we dive into Goku's Great Ape form, let's first get acquainted with who exactly the Great Ape is. This entity is a gigantic anthropomorphic creature that resembles the appearance of a monkey, hence one of Goku's earliest nicknames, the Monkey King. Only the Saiyans of Universe 7 are capable of transforming into the same, which tells you that Goku is, at the very least, not a human. Now, let's get back to his bodily structure. As most Dragon Ball fans are aware, Goku's character was based on the 16th century Chinese legend of Sun Wukong. In the same fashion, Goku's anatomy is very much similar to that of a human, except for two primary differences. The first being his monkey tail. Being a pure Saiyan at birth, Goku was born with a monkey tail, which is a typical attribute of his race, but there are a set of conditions that must be fulfilled for a Saiyan to successfully transform into the Great Ape. Besides the need to have a full moon night for the Blutz waves to appear in abundance, the entire process requires an incredible amount of strength, endurance, and energy. At the same time, the transformation does not guarantee that that the user, now turned into the ape, will be capable of reasoning. As a matter of fact, one of the major characters in the series did actually receive proper training in order to hone his instincts and improve his intellectual attributes as a great ape himself. Any guesses? Well, we'll give you the answer towards the end of this segment. The second difference lies in Goku's inherent Saiyan biology. Though he doesn't know it growing up, Saiyans possess the unique trait of gaining power and strength if they survive near-death encounters. Once they've healed, they come back stronger than they were before, and if they have enough near-death encounters or access to Dragon Balls, there is no telling how far their powers can truly rise. Well, there is, as you will see by the end of this video, but in the meantime, let's focus on the famous face-off between Goku and Jackie Chun. During the course of the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, it was observed that Goku was emerging as a prominent rookie with the potential to become one of the greatest warriors in the universe. However, it was in the final fight against Jackie Chun that the spectators at the event, as well as us anime fans, learned that Goku was actually an alien. After all, it was his sudden transformation into the great ape that turned out to be the only hint of his extraterrestrial identity. And even this is taken away from you after he grows up, because towards the end of the Dragon Ball series, Goku's tail becomes notably absent from his anatomy. Having mastered immensely powerful techniques like the Kamehameha wave and absorbed the fighting discipline of some of the greatest martial artists on Earth, like Master Roshi, Mr. Popo, and Kami himself, Goku felt he was strong enough to handle things without needing to rely on his trump card. This perception would be shattered and remade by a whole new series of events that started with the Vegeta arc, which show you the true battle capacity of a Saiyan warrior. A taste of a Saiyan's true powers, Kaioken, S-Cells, and going Super Saiyan. The Dragon Ball franchise runs high on the adrenaline rush that is instigated by intense battle sequences among the strongest warriors in the multiverse. Be it a battle of muscles or strategy, the fights in Dragon Ball are nothing short of perfection. Most importantly, the rush of adrenaline is further driven by the magnificence of Goku's physical prowess. So, in this segment, we will look at 3 of his most famous powers. Kaioken. The Kaioken, or the Fist of the World King, is described by Goku as a massive upsurge of energy, because of which everything is heightened. Power, speed, and even hearing and vision. Calling it a form of super self, Goku's definition of the Kaioken is quite apt to say the least. It is the state of the body during which the ki is increased manifold, and the individual's endurance level surpasses the normal figures. Emitting a crimson aura from the body, it boosts one's speed and strength to counter incoming attacks from enemies, but at the cost of a devastating body recoil. Thus, the Kaioken requires its user to have strong control over their ki for better performance in the fight. Goku used the Kaioken for the first time in Dragon Ball Z during the Vegeta arc. In his battle against Vegeta's Great Ape form, which is the intelligent Great Ape we were talking about earlier, Goku unleashes the Kaioken for the first time, but it's a futile attempt as he is easily subdued by his arch nemesis. However, it was after he increased the intensity to Kaioken 4 that he could finally take down Vegeta by blasting him into the skies. Though he might have achieved victory, it absolutely wrecked Goku, and he had to be hospitalized, which is probably the only time in the series you'll see Goku at a hospital. In short, the Vegeta arc quite spectacularly highlights how Goku has upgraded his endurance levels since the Dragon Ball series, while also giving you an idea of just how far he's willing to go to ensure victory and Earth's safety. The Kaioken is an extremely dangerous technique, as a person can easily overdo it and accidentally kill themselves. This is evidenced by the fact that Goku's body balloons up every time he activates the technique, a byproduct of surpassing his limits. If Goku were to use the multiplier beyond, say, 20 times, he might easily die, and no, the Lord Slug movie doesn't count, you guys. Yet, his incredible combat prowess and inherently Saiyan biology allowed him to survive that byproduct and come out victorious. And that isn't the only way in which his inherent nature gives him a natural battle advantage. S-Cells. To put it simply, the S-Cells are the cells present in a Saiyan's body. Depending on the constituents of the spirit, a Saiyan can strengthen his battle power by just multiplying the number of S-Cells inside their body. But here's the catch. A Saiyan with a humbler and gentler disposition would be able to increase his S-Cells more than a Saiyan with violent tendencies. Most of all, the ability to multiply the number of S-Cells in the body will eventually help the user to unlock their Super Saiyan forms. It's because of this catch that Goku ends up becoming a literal man of legend during the Frieza arc. Super Saiyan. Considered to be one of the most crucial battles in the Dragon Ball franchise, the outcome of Goku's fight against Frieza was decided solely on the basis of sheer strength and power. Yet, what eventually helped Goku cross the threshold was the goodness in his heart, which inadvertently awakened his Super Saiyan form. The Super Saiyan is an advanced level of physical abilities exclusive to the Saiyan race. This form can be achieved by a user who is capable of increasing his S-cell count to such an extent that it further influences their physiology, releasing a bright yellow aura as the person's hair turns blonde in color and their eyes an icy sea green. Having seen his combat skills up front, Vegeta did have a hunch early on in Dragon Ball Z that Goku may have been capable of becoming a Super Saiyan. However, it wasn't until Frieza, one of the worst antagonists in Dragon Ball Z, mortally wounded Piccolo and murdered Krillin in cold blood that Goku, in a state of blinding rage, awakens the Super Saiyan form with all his might and takes down his adversary, upgrading power levels. An important way for the Dragon Team fighters to improve their power levels was via the gravity training program, which was only possible because of Dr. Briefs. With the help of his gravity machine, the fighters were taught to develop their strength and agility by exposing themselves to an exponentially increased amount of Earth's gravity within the machine, so that they could train their muscles to withstand a greater degree of strength while also improving their speed and reflexes. This training method, devised by Dr. Brief, had a huge impact on the physiological structure of the fighters with S-cells, particularly on Goku. We saw just how much Goku had grown in strength between fighting Vegeta and reaching Namek, after training at 100 times the Earth's gravity, and gravity training was also a part of his regimen under King Kai. After witnessing this dramatic increase in his rival's power level, Vegeta demanded a similar training vessel from Dr. Briefs, and in the manga, he went Super Saiyan inside a capsule core training facility, not on a distant planet, as he was training at 300 times Earth's gravity. Goku sort of plateaus after this in terms of power because, at the time, Toriyama wanted to end the series with Gohan having replaced his father. While training with his son in the hyperbolic time chamber, Goku is only able to reach an ascended level where his power output is perfectly controlled and he's utilizing it at its maximum potential. He doesn't break through the ceiling like his son does, which is why he asks Gohan to fight Cell. After he dies, Goku spends all of his time training in the afterlife, which allows him to not only surpass his son, but completely eclipse him. Goku's SSJ2 form was seen for the first time in Dragon Ball Z, in his battle against a possessed Vegeta who was under the spell of Majin, who had joined forces with Babidi to quench his thirst for power. Goku's SSJ2 form was similar to that of the Super Saiyan, with a difference in power and appearance. That is, the SSJ2 is 100 times stronger and has a more intense aura when compared with its predecessor. This was eventually followed by Goku's Super Saiyan 3, or the SSJ3 form, during his training in the Other World, which is said to exert every iota of potential from a Saiyan's blood, which further results in the user having longer blonde hair with an electrifying aura surrounding them. Goku's power is so immense in this form that even people on Supreme Kai's planet on the other side of the universe can feel it, but because SSJ3 is such a demanding transformation, he can only sustain it for a few minutes at most. However, this is just the beginning of the other Super Saiyan forms that Goku later unlocks over the course of the franchise. Reaching godhood and then going beyond that as well. Super Saiyan God and Ultra Instinct. There have been several instances in anime history where prominent characters have been obsessed with the concept of becoming a godlike figure. One such example is Light Yagami in Death Note, who envisions a new world order where his word could be the final word to serve justice indiscriminately. Unfortunately, many of them often confuse divinity with autocracy, in which one person controls the entire world. While Light wanted to become a god via his intellect, several characters from Dragon Ball pursue the same, but on the basis of their physical strength. The Super Saiyan forms are deemed as one such way to become a godlike figure in the Dragon Ball franchise, where a user can attain absolute invincibility if they carry S-cells and can multiply them incessantly. Besides the three forms that we explored in the previous section, there have been quite a number of other Super Saiyan forms, each of which is more powerful than its predecessor with its distinct form of aura. The Super Saiyan God transformation is a divine transformation which is achieved by accessing the divine divine ki of the gods. Conventionally, it can only be attained through a ritual practice involving 6 righteous Saiyans channeling their powers to a single person, or through a specific training regimen that only Vegeta knows about. Once a Saiyan gets a taste of the divine ki, everything they thought they knew about strength changes. The Super Saiyan God form heightens the user's strength, senses, and endurance to an otherworldly extent, whilst removing nearly all of the physical stresses that they have to deal with under normal circumstances. When Goku first becomes a Super Saiyan God, his body actually becomes leaner in order to operate at its maximum potential. Divine Ki allows users to heal themselves from injuries, which negates the need for sensu beans, and we don't need to tell you how crucial that is in this universe. Goku achieved this transformation out of necessity because if he didn't become a Saiyan God, Beerus would have destroyed his world. But thanks to that threat and how Dragon Ball logic works, both Goku and Vegeta are now apprentices of the Destroyer God of sorts, so it all worked out in the end. Many had thought that Toriyama couldn't top this transformation, but then Resurrection F dropped on our heads and we learned that he was just getting started. After spending months training under the watchful eye of Whis, which included lifting the heaviest weights while trying to avoid falling to his death, getting blasted by Beerus with his unbridled power full in the face, and sparring with Vegeta and Whis himself constantly, Goku learns how to unleash his Super Saiyan powers while harnessing Divine Ki, and Vegeta learns soon after. This leads to the birth of the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan transformation, or for short, Super Saiyan Blue. In the manga, this form is still rough when Goku and Vegeta access it at first. The perfected SSJ Blue state is the state in which the user has mastered the Super Saiyan Blue form to the fullest, but this power lapse is never addressed in the anime, which is a damn shame, honestly. Super Saiyan Blue is undoubtedly one of the strongest physical forms in the entire series, capable of standing up to nearly any kind of being from Universe 7, perhaps even Beerus. But if you guys remember, we told you a few moments ago that Divine Ki not only puts less strain on one's body, but it also actually heals them pretty much on command. It's an unreal transformation that allows Goku and Vegeta to escalate a fight as much as they want to, as long as they don't run out of stamina, and we don't know of 2 other people who have better stamina than these guys. But thanks to these factors, Goku in particular is able to pull off something we previously established as being impossible in this list. We said that using Kaioken and Super Saiyan together is impossible because they're incompatible, and that still remains true. Regular Super Saiyan cannot be used in conjunction with Kaioken. However, thanks to the Divine Ki and its healing effects, Goku can use the Kaioken in his Super Saiyan Blue form. Hell, he can spam that 20x multiplier as long as he keeps up with it, which is just insane, all things considered. This was the form he had to rely on to defeat the time-manipulating martial artist Hit, and the one that allowed him to at least keep up with the multiverse's strongest warrior, Jiren. But what gave him victory over that man was not a divine aura, but a divine technique. That technique is called Ultra Instinct, a divine technique inherent to angels like Whis, in which the user is able to separate his consciousness from his body, and thus is capable of battling against his enemy without thinking. By distinguishing the mind from the body, the absence of emotions or thoughts makes sure that it does not affect the warrior's fighting techniques, and it provides an ungodly, or rather godly, boost to reflexes and strength. In episode 110 of Dragon Ball Super, Goku enters an incomplete form of Ultra Instinct during his battle with Jiren when he falls into a spirit bomb of his own creation. His struggle against his own power and the constant desperate need to survive and fight pushes him past his human limits and puts him in a state the fandom knows as Ultra Instinct Sign. Perceived by the gods as one of the toughest fighting techniques to master, the Ultra Instinct Sign is a state of mind in which every part of the body can defend or dodge independently without the brain's intervention in it. Whenever we take an action, we think about it beforehand, even if it's for a split second. This means everything we do or perform is actually dictated by our minds. The brain sends the information to our muscles, and the muscles follow suit. In the case of Ultra Instinct, however, it is the muscle that makes the move instead. The very name of the form Ultra Instinct does throw light on the person's voluntary tendency to follow his instinct instead of his emotions. In a life and death situation where the stronger adversary wins, being able to unlock Ultra Instinct means to alter one's own physiology, and Goku's bodily structure experiences the same. While in the sign form, Goku's reflexes allow him to dodge all of Jiren's attacks, but his attacks do not pack the same punch as they used to because he's still thinking about where to attack. This improves in his fight against Kefla, where he was able to enter the Saiyan state once again and make short work of the fused Saiyan by blasting them with a Kamehameha. But when it came down to just him and Jiren, Goku needed more than defense. He needed to be able to land a powerful punch on the bastard. That happens when he reaches the perfected Ultra Instinct level in episode 129 of Dragon Ball Super. In this state, Goku's eyes and hair suddenly change to a grayish hue. At the same time, the nature of his aura included spots of purple and red in the overall shade of blues and whites that embrace his sculpted physique. As far as the intellect is concerned, the Ultra Instinct chooses to isolate it from the rest of the body so that it runs on autopilot, in the form of an unstoppable fighting machine that is equipped with razor-sharp reflexes and phenomenal speed. His attacks become lethal as well, with him being able to land decisive blows on Jiren that nearly had the warrior beat. It was Burnout that almost got Universe 7 knocked out of the Tournament of Power, as Goku suffered a near-lethal drawback from entering this state that wasn't meant to be entered by mortals. But in the end, Goku managed to achieve something even Beerus, a destroyer god, hasn't yet achieved. With muscle memory as part and parcel of this form, Goku realizes true divine strength in Dragon Ball Super. Ultra Instinct is basically the culmination of all the combat skills he had to develop as part of his martial arts training. And to say that no one could have predicted this back when Broly started hating on Goku for being a literal crybaby with a power level of 2 is a gross understatement. But despite all of his incredible strength, there is one weakness that exists in his body, and you will not guess what it is. So, does Goku have any weaknesses? Well, yes, but you won't believe what it is. Truth be told, not all heroes are perfect. Every protagonist has some sort of flaw that adds a certain degree of depth to their character. Be it Luffy's inability to swim or Inuyasha being triggered by a particular phrase, comment your guesses, the hero's flaws only highlight his greatness. Interestingly, the mangaka Akira Toriyama decided to follow the same trend and went on to do the same for the Monkey King. But this filler idea ended up surpassing our wildest dreams. Goku's biggest weakness is trypanophobia. That's right, fear of needles. Goku's unfathomable anxiety about receiving injections is a silly yet hilarious sight. Being a Saiyan-born entity with the power to destroy planets at his own will, Goku's fear of getting something as simple as a flu shot makes him a comical nuisance in the presence of doctors and nurses. We saw this firsthand early on in Dragon Ball Z, when a simple visit to the hospital had him scared that someone would stick a needle into him, and we all know just how much of a bother he was before he got a sensu bean in him before the Namek arc. It's a little silly, but let's just accept it. Sometimes we all need a sort of comic relief to diffuse a grave situation where the tensions are through the roof and hearts are pacing faster than usual. In moments like these, including a comic element or two only adds to a story's brilliance, and the Dragon Ball franchise is no exception. The literal strongest fighter in the universe suffering from a case of trypanophobia would certainly incite much laughter among manga readers and anime viewers alike. Yet, it's a remarkable way to humanize Goku's personality as an alien individual who was raised on Earth and thus grew attached to his foster planet. His commitment towards protecting the planet from every single threat further validates that Goku is, after all, a human with special abilities. With the inclusion of such a rib-tickling fact in his personality, it goes without saying that the makers made an intentional move to make Goku appear goofy yet humble at the same time. However, another weakness of his, besides the needles, is most certainly the sort that sends chills down Goku's spine every time he comes in sight of her, and that's none other than his wife. As seen over the course of Dragon Ball Z and Super, Chi-Chi's aggressive tirades over Goku's recklessness stems from the absence of peace in their family life, given that her husband keeps running off to fight dangerous individuals or train with gods almost all the time. Honestly, we get where Chi-Chi's coming from, but she's the sole reason why we wouldn't want to trade places with Goku in a heartbeat, and that's a hell of an offer to refuse. Marvelous verdict. Jokes aside, it is an established fact that Goku's physical attributes are unparalleled not only on human terms, but also as far as extraterrestrial standards go. Courtesy of his stupendous Saiyan physiology, Goku's unconventional fighting techniques and superior vitals eventually helped him to master the Ultra Instinct level. His physique, however, is further complemented by his compassionate nature. As a person who puts the lives of others before his own, Goku's determination and courage to protect the innocent goes on to show how goodness eventually triumphs over evil. Thus, in a way, one can say that his powers and abilities as a Saiyan could reach the optimal level because of Goku's grit and perseverance to do good for those around him. No wonder this anatomical freak is the sole reason why people will never get over the frenzy of the Dragon Ball franchise. Would you like to know more about other prominent characters from Dragon Ball? Or are you looking for the next anime recommendation for some leisurely binge watching? Let us know in the comment section down below, and we might try to take up that topic in our upcoming videos. Until then, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.